All right, welcome everyone to the RSP Film Room. This is episode number 114. And for number 114, I have one of my favorite people coming back for this film room hangout, and that is Mr. Emory Hunt of Football Game Plan. Emory, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be back, Matt. Man, it's been a process, this whole draft season, but we're counting down what a week away from selection, the selection meeting, as they like to call it.
Absolutely. And you're in Virginia, right? Is that where?
I'm in Virginia today. Yesterday, I was in North Carolina all week, visiting coaches and doing coaching interviews. We got some great content coming out next week. Today, I was at Christopher Newport in Norfolk State. And tomorrow I'll be at Virginia Union, Virginia State, Richmond, and then Saturday Washington and Lee. So I'm stumping through Virginia, So before I make my way back up to Jersey.
That's right. And if you are new to the RSP Film Room or you're new to Emory Hunt or both, you need to check out Emory Hunt's site at Football Game Plan. Also, check out his YouTube channel, Football Game Plan. There is so much great stuff college, NFL, breaking down X's and O's, breaking down players, talking shop with coaches, player interviews. It's just a fantastic site, and you definitely need to follow Emory. You'll see his Twitter handle below here throughout the show so that you can check out his work on Twitter and all the rest of the work that he posts there as well as on his site. Today we're going to check out a player of Emory's choice, and that is one Tanoh Kpassagnon. Is that correct? Did I pronounce his name correctly, or is it different?
No, that's correct. That's perfect, actually.
Okay, good. Well, that's good because that might be the first time I've pronounced somebody's name right. That's been a little more difficult for me to pronounce. But tell us about Tanoh Kpassagnon and why you've been bullish on his game and what we're going to expect to see a little bit today.
One, he was. I mean, you don't normally see guys that large at that level playing that position. Normally, if you see a large individual at the FCS level, they're probably playing offensive line. But I remember going to a Villanova Towson game, I want to say 2 years ago, and I got tipped off by one of the Villanova coaches saying, hey, because he saw who I was looking forward to seeing. It was a guy, Reggie Paris, the defensive end. They also had Poppy Livers, the wide receivers, the diminutive wide receiver. And the quarterback, quite honestly, John Robertson, was a tremendous athlete, won the Walter Payton Award, which is the division, the FCS equivalent to the Heisman Trophy. So I was going to check out those guys. And he was like, no, keep an eye on this sophomore defensive end, man. He said, you'll be impressed with them. So that game against Towson, who ran the ball, 80% of the time, he stood out. He actually stood out more than Paris did. And so he kind of put him on my radar. And moving forward, you saw a player that just got better and better each and every year, and to where he finally started to figure things out. And how you had that, you remember how it is growing up in the South. You had that young baby Huey type kid that doesn't know his strength, and
Yeah.
once he figures it out and knows how to utilize it, he becomes a dominant player, and he became that dominant player at Villanova. So I was impressed to see the growth of his game, and I'm glad he's starting to get his just due as a prospect.
That's awesome. Well, for those of you new to the RSP Film Room, what we do is just we watch a number of clips of a player's game and talk about their technique, talk about concepts for the position, as well as any type of strategy that's involved, or anything about football that we think that makes sense in relative to what we're seeing here. A lot of what we're going to see is in slow motion, and we'll watch things numerous times. And this year, what we're doing a little new is that I'm giving my guests homework, and I'm grateful that they're willing to do the homework for us to do this to present the clips. And so we're just able to run through this in about 35, 45 minutes, and give you guys a good outlook of this player in terms of his strengths, things that he can improve upon, things that we think that are good projection points for him to develop into the NFL, athletic types of points, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get started, and let me make sure that Emory and I can see the screen and where we need to be. Let's see. All right, got that. All right, and all right, there we go. How is that looking to you?
Perfect.
Okay, good. All right, let's start with the first one and roll it here.
Yeah, and I was at this game actually against. It was a playoff game against St. Francis, and it's going to be a guy we're talking about next year as a running back. um, for St. Francis. So it was a good matchup for Kpassagnon because you're going to see how well he can stop the run. They also like to air it out, so you get to see him, get after the quarterback. And in this particular play, you like what initially jumps out at you about him is the fact that you like that he's a guy that can alter plays. As far as, let's say, if you're dropping back as a quarterback, you have to get off the platform, you have to move off the spot because he is very disruptive. He's relentless, like you're seeing here. He took a wide arc, but was able to fight back and get back to the quarterback to make the tackle. And so you like how he's altering plays, whether it's a running play or a passing play, forcing running back to cut back earlier than he wanted to. You like how he's able to also uh, not give up on a play and ends up getting a lot of sacks. I think he had over 16 sacks this past season as a senior, so that was very impressive. So those things, when you watch him play, it initially jumps out at you, and it makes you want to be. It gets you intrigued in watching a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I really like what you mentioned here about his relentlessness, and also just the fact that he keeps his eyes towards where he needs to be with the quarterback. He uses his hands reasonably well on this play, and yeah, like you said, he takes a wide arc, but instead of completely overrunning it, he knows he needs to stop and try and work towards the ball carrier, and that's great.
Yeah, and even I mean, even if you go back to showing that particular clip, like right there, if you freeze it, when he goes to try to get back into the play, you can see from a coaching perspective right there. That's exactly what you see as a coach. You say, hey, I could coach him up on getting that arm, that swim shorter and quicker and more compact because right there you see him being a little bit too wide as far as getting that arm up and getting, trying to get off the block. He was able to do it, but at the NFL level against a better tackle, he probably will get pushed to the ground. So that's a technical issue where you say, okay, at least he's showing a counter move. At least he's showing the ability to get off a block. Yes, you can smooth out that. You can quicken up that rip or that swim and allow him to be a little bit more faster as far as getting off that block and getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, that's a great point. Absolutely. Let's move on to our next one here. See what we have. All right, now we have him off the edge here once again. Let's see what we have on this trip set.
Yeah, good ball. Good. And
Uh,
this is the part we're talking about where he's altering the play. You see him take an inside stunt, and now he forced the quarterback off the spot, and he's gonna complete this pass, but it's probably not the option he wanted to go. And what I like about St. Francis's passing game is that they work touchdown and check down. This quarterback had himself a heck of a day. They had a lot of drops in this game for them, and they weren't able to complete the pass. But that's how they got that early touchdown on a deep ball. So they were working touchdown and check down. And I know he wanted to step into this throw and throw it deep, but because Kpassagnon took that inside track and utilized that 6'7", 290-pound frame, he got up on that quarterback pretty quickly, had to sidestep a little bit and force a bad throw into double cover. So if you're altering plays, is and I know people are, people there's two schools of thoughts of this. Like some people say, well, he didn't necessarily make the play, but technically he did. These are the type of plays that don't show up in the stat sheet, but he was disruptive. He got the quarterback off the spot, probably got him off rhythm, and forced him just to get rid of the football because he thinks, okay, if he got through quickly, then this guy that's coming around on the opposite side on a quarterback spot, the linebacker, he's coming around to fully take his head off. I got to get rid of this football. So I think those plays you have to account for him. Yes, he may not show up in the stat sheet. Yes, he didn't make the play, but he definitely altered the play enough to where it ended up being a positive for Villanova.
yeah, I love that because even when you take a look at just also his awareness shows up on this play because yeah, he takes this inside move. He sees where the tackle is and sees that opening. And while the guard slides over and he gets hit here, I love the fact that once he's hit, he's like, I know that I'm not going to get to the quarterback here. At least let me get my hand up. Let me try and get my
Mm-hmm.
hands up and try and do something, even though the quarterback's moving away and maybe he doesn't see where the quarterback's moving to at the point he's getting hit there. At least, he's trying to do something to at least, block a passing lane. And if the quarterback were to turn there, and then it does, it opens up that green dog right here from the
Mm-hmm.
linebacker. And those are very helpful things. I mean, I love the points you make about that. And I think that I would agree wholeheartedly with you that, may not be a stat oriented play there, but in the NFL, you're probably going to have a linebacker too who sees this here at this point, it has already maybe taken off, maybe even a step or two earlier.
And he took off. He took two blockers with him as well, so he definitely cleared the path. And you saw the quarterback right there could not step into that throw,
Yeah,
which is why it ended up being short. And both cornerbacks or defensive backs make a play on the ball.
yeah, and this could have been caught. This really very well could have been caught right there. So,
That it is, I'm telling you, St. Francis, that quarterback showed me something that game. He was tough as nails, and if they could just get a little bit better in pass pro, uh, and things start to break down at that point in the game. But they had a lot of bad situations that happened to why they're down 31-7 in the second quarter. But
still,
quarterback played tough, man.
yeah, and when you're able to move, reset, and fire like that, yeah, I hear you. So here we go. We've got him now in a three. He's in the three-man line here. Oh, staying at home.
Staying at home and closing speed, and that's the whole part of the acceleration, the altering plays. And look at the quarterback's platform.
Yeah,
And so again, it goes short for completion, which is why I said that the quarterback was tough as nails. But apparently, think about if that play doesn't happen, he hits that receiver in stride, and the receiver is able to get more yards after the catch. But this is an example of altering the play. He was able to shrink that space between he and the quarterback quickly, force the quarterback to make a an off platform throw, and it still again was complete, but it could have been a bigger gain. And that's where you want to see a guy. This is another coaching point where okay, you have this opening, you have this ability to go out there and flatten the quarterback. If you can't get there, you're 6'7". Get those arms up, get those in his way, and force either bat the ball down or perhaps get a tip, which could end up being an interception. That's where you want him to be a little bit more savvy in as far as affecting the play as opposed to just altering the play.
right. And I think this is definitely more of an experience thing than a thing where you go, oh, he just lacks the intuition of the game. I think you could see where this is just more of an experience thing. Because I think there's a difference. I mean, I think for some people, you look at some quarterbacks, and they may never have that intuition to really do some of or certain players may never have the intuition to do some of the things that they need to do. But then there's a difference between that and you just need experience.
Yeah, and the good part about it, man, this is why when people say he has the upside, it makes a lot of sense because, and I always like to use this example because to me, this completely epitomizes what we're talking about. You look at a guy like Malik Collins last year for Nebraska. He was hella disruptive, getting through the line of scrimmage constantly. But you saw like, man, why did the Cowboys take him that high when he was he doesn't have any technique. Yeah, he got great ball get off. Yes, he's disruptive. Well, those are the two things you really can't coach. Ball get off and effort, and you can coach technique. And so you pair him with the best defensive line coach in Rod Marinelli, and now all of a sudden you have a guy that made all rookie teams. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
he has those things that you can coach, and he has those things that you can't coach that he brought every play.
Well, it's funny now. You can hear it now. If you're an avid subscriber to the RSP Film Room, it's been defensive line week or defensive line 2 weeks. And I think we've heard Rod Marinelli from every single one of our evaluators. So you should keep that in mind in terms of if you want to learn more about defensive line play. Um, one of the guys that you want to think about whenever you get a chance to read anything that he has to say about that, Rod Marinelli would be a very good choice.
And it shows you how, and I hate to say it, but it shows you how little uh, of technique is being taught in the NFL because they don't have time. You
Yes.
know, it's the NFL is all scheme based. College is where you learn all these techniques, and the fact that Villanova was able to get this much production from Passio and or able to grow his game from a technical standpoint to the point where he was the sack leader in the FCS speaks volumes of the job they've done coaching him up, and he still has room to grow.
Yeah. And, a lot of that, when you have a good coach who will give you that technique, and if you don't, then it's going to be dependent on them to really work with a veteran and to work with somebody that will help them continue to refine those skills. So, the NFL is one of those things. It's like, look, we expect you to be ready. So we're going to see. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so we got him. That's staying clean off the block, the cut.
And see, that's the part, man. And I think that's where you look at 6'7". He looked down to get off that cut block, which
Yeah,
when you look down as a defensive lineman, you have now lost where the play is going. So you have to quickly get back up, reset your eyes. But you want him to be able to play without. It's almost like dribbling without looking down at the ball while you're dribbling, right?
yeah,
You see a guy, especially a running back, coming to cut you. Not a running back, the tight end coming to cut you. You should be able to play right there like he has now, play with your hands, not your eyes, and still be able to find the play. So I think that's something where he's going to have to get a little bit better at, and that's where you see the height come into play. Maybe he's a little bit too tall to do it naturally. Got to get better knee bend, but you want to see him be able to play the cut block a little bit better. There was two instances in this game where he couldn't really, and this one was better than the one we're going to see later on in this series in the segment, but you want to see a guy be able to play with his hands and get off that block without losing sight of what's going on in the backfield.
yeah. Makes sense. Well done. All right.
Because the next one I believe is one where a running back is going to try to get him, and you if you're a DN and you see a running back get it, and I'm telling you from experience, running backs don't want to block linebackers, let alone defensive ends. So the fact that you, as a defensive end, allowed yourself to get cut by this running back, you're going to get laughed at in that defensive line room. So again, play with your hands better. Don't play too high. Don't play. You don't want to play your height in certain situations because that'll, and you see it's bad too. So he gets cut, and a quarterback was able to get the ball off. But had he played with his hands, he could have easily shocked that running back. So why are you dancing with the running back? That's a running back trying to block a defensive end. You know, run him over, push him to the side. I'm telling you, he does not want to block you.
Right.
Number one. So good job by the running back being able to get him on the ground. But that's where you want to see Passio, be a little bit better as far as using his hands.
That makes sense. It's knowing who you are. It's like Brandon Jacobs. Don't try and be a scat back all the time.
Exactly.
The-
You know,
or I could name, and I don't mean to pick on Brandon. I could pick on a bunch of 235 to 250 pound running backs we have seen who sometimes think that that they're a scat back more than they need to be.
as
And
D line coach to tell him right there, like, why are you trying to be sexy? Just
yeah,
run the dude over.
yeah. Power is sexy. There you go. That's
Exactly.
all right. Moving forward. Let's see what we got here.
And it all ties in together, man. Like, you know, on this particular play, you want to see him use his hands better to not lose balance. And granted, it's going to get called for a holding, but you want to see him be able to keep this guy's hands off of him because again, you're 6'7", you have long arms. You should win that battle first, that hands first battle. Extend, stonewall that gap, and be able to read and get off the block and make the tackle. But instead, you find yourself getting pancaked into the ground. Now, again, they called holding, but when you see the close-up view of what happened, he had an opportunity to not allow himself to get held and make that play because they ran right at him,
Yeah.
and you got to get your hands. You can't let a guy get inside your body when you have that 6'7" frame, So you'll see on the close-up angle right there, like hands are all over the place. One hand is on the outside, one hand is across his neck, and the offensive lineman's hands is actually perfect inside, so he's in a control position. And it just happened the fact that Passio made a move, and the guy it went from a great block to a hold.
Yeah.
But right there, that's where you want, and you got to extend. Now, left arm is perfect, right arm doesn't know what it wants to do yet, and that's why he got into trouble.
Yeah. You can totally see that. It's interesting because I mean, you see where his eyes are, and he's trying to look for the ball, but he's got to be more disciplined. It's almost like his right arm drifted with his eyes, as opposed to
Exactly.
as opposed to going, okay, just he put the cart before the horse on this play.
And had he just brought his right arm along with his left arm, he would have been in perfect position to play that run, and the lineman wouldn't have been able to put him on the ground, nor would have been able to get penetration and get movement. That running back would have had nowhere to go.
Yeah, I mean, he could have easily pulled this guy if he had his hands in the right spots.
or even just took the outside shoulder
Yeah,
and really kept that outside arm free and made the tackle. So again, and he would have flushed that running back right back into the help of those two linebackers standing there, and so he could have played that block by the oncoming offensive lineman better. As well, he could have really killed two blocks with that with just having his outside arm free and taking a better position. But that's the nuance of the game and playing a position that you want to see a guy. That's the difference between, let's say, a first round pick like Derek Barnett and a guy that has second round value with upside in passing.
makes total sense. Total sense. All right, so what else we have here? We got, let's see. All right.
And this, we talk about not having a plan, and that's, if you get free, like what's next. So he was able to get free, and then he didn't understand. Okay, what's next? He didn't think he was going to get past that offensive lineman that quickly, and allow the quarterback to get outside to escape out the back door. Right there, he perfect position, got leverage. Oh no, I overextended. I don't know where to go, and now the quarterback is able to escape. So always have a plan right there. You should either flatten and close that gap and close that back door. But he didn't. He kept it too shallow. He didn't really get a good bend to where the quarterback had no escape route. But that again will come with time, with technique, because he did everything else well. He was able to beat the guy, had leverage. He had his outside arm free. Had good bend. Quarterback was just a better athlete than him on that play, but he still had an opportunity to close that door. He got too close inside to where he had a point of no return. It was a point of no return for him, and that's why that quarterback was able to get outside that play.
Well done. And this is what's nice about this is that we get to watch a player who obviously has the build, the physical talent, and a lot of the the conceptual mental talent for the game already in place, and we get a chance to see a little bit more projection than what we might see from a first round guy. And I think Emory's doing a great job of showing you guys some of the things that you would want to project in a player when you see his film, especially a player of this magnitude.
Yeah, and I mean this is why you see coaches love what he has, because again in this particular play right here you see the
Mm.
explosion, you see the ball get off, and you see him extend. I mean that guard is essentially another tailback now, because he tackle is another tailback because he pushed him square into the backfield.
Yeah.
So if you're able to disrupt the play like that, coach is like, man, if I could just smooth out those rough edges, and you see it on the back end. Um, you know, even though he shows the explosion, the ball get off, things that you can't coach, he shows good length, he still gets turned and is off balance. So you want him to be able to harness that. And we talked about this earlier in the open about Baby Huey or Bam Bam. He's strong, but you don't really understand how strong he is. Like Dino from the Flintstones, you don't understand his strength. And once he figures it out, you're going to have a defensive end that can set the edge, that can be a power rusher, that shows enough explosiveness to be a speed rusher. So that trait right there, the explosion, the ball get off, showing good length, but now you want to see him have a counter. You want to see him play a little bit more balance, because right now he's playing a little wild, but you like that ability that you can't coach. A lot of guys can't even do that, and he can do it. You can just have to smooth it out and round out his game.
See, look at that. We've got really good stuff here. And then on top of it, Emery Hunt, folks, the only person that I've had on this show who can one up me on metaphors or references to cartoon characters or odd things that have like nothing to do with football.
But you can see I was a big Hanna Barbera kid growing up.
Oh, likewise. So I love it. I love it. But I laughed when you said Baby Huey. I was laughing. I was like, I have never heard anybody use Baby Huey, and that is great. So,
Now, and this is the play we showed in the open, where he shows the explosion and shows the counter. So this is the part, let's say, when evaluators say, well, I haven't seen him do it yet. And you talk about upside, but I haven't seen him do it yet. And here's an example of him showing the explosion, the ball get off. He's blocked right here, but he has a plan. He fixes himself, counters, and is able to make the play. So he shows coachability. He shows the ability to learn, and shows that in spots he can do it. Now it's up to the position coach to make sure he does it consistently.
yep, more in the tank there for sure. All right, so now we're looking at a 4th and 6.
athleticism, man. Just being able
Ooh,
to explode off the edge and get good bend and force that quarterback to get rid of the ball quickly. And these are the things that you see. And he's playing. And I want to say he played a little bit out of position at Villanova because necessity. If you're an FCS coach and you have a 6'7", 290-pound football player, you're going to put him wherever you need him to be. And him playing outside shoulder that tackle, I like that because he can win with power, he can win with length, he can also set the edge. I think that's ideally where you like him playing in the NFL. Now he can also serve multiple roles. He can play a 5, he can play a 4-eye, whatever you want to do. Kick him down inside. But I think outside as a 7 or even a 9, um, he can have success. And so you see that burst off the edge and see the athleticism. Now you teach him the ability to flatten and accelerate. I think that's where you're going to get a project player that's going to come in and really hone his skills and be a dynamic player moving forward. So you see these things and you see why teams you know love this prospect. And this is the type of stuff we saw him show throughout the course of the week at the Senior Bowl. In one-on-one drills, he ended Forrest Lamp's week,
yeah.
quite honestly. Once he planted Forrest Lamp into the ground, Lamp tapped out and was like, yeah, I'm just getting ready for the combine. No passing, you'll put you into Indianapolis in a one-on-one drill. So I think that's why you see coaches and execs get excited about what he brings to the table.
Yeah, and when you watch something like this, I mean, there's two things that I find notable about this as I'm getting to have my defensive end education this week once again for the small bit of time that I get to watch non-skill position prospects is I love, the get off here. You got that really nice lean right off the bat here. And then you can even see here, what he's going to be doing once there where he brings that hand up and he's going to swat the arm away of that tackle. Even though you don't get a great view of it from this angle, you can kind of see where that's heading. And then he gets that dip of the shoulder and around and that speed to be able to do all that. And especially with the get off, as Emory mentioned here.
Because what normally happens is when he has that get off, and credit the offensive tackle for doing a great job of staying patient because he didn't quickly open that gate like you normally see. Like right there, you see an offensive tackle try to beat the defensive end, the hard charging defensive end to the spot, which will open up the inside and which will open up that counter move to slice back inside and get to the quarterback. But the offensive lineman did a great job staying patient. And now right here at the point of contact, you want to see Kpassagnon, and you see Derek Barnett do this a great deal. He's able to lock in that inside arm
Yeah.
and use the offensive lineman's leverage against him and use him to really steer himself back toward the quarterback. And I think that's the technical side of the game that you want to see Kpassagnon develop as he moves forward.
Yeah, because this is more of a raw move for this particular situation, and it's something similar that we saw in recent episodes, say with Derek Rivers, who doesn't really have like a number of great moves, but still has the athletic ability to get around and under a guy like this. Um, so, I mean, you're kind of seeing a similar type of thing with Kpassagnon on that play. All right, so our final play.
Again, it gets coaches excited. It's the one-arm power move, and this is a guy that has been giving us some issues all day. But you see right here, he's off balance. But watch his right arm. Just strictly walk that guy back with just one arm, and so you have a large individual at 6'7", 290, understanding how strong he is. That's a Division I scholarship athlete right there that he's walking into the backfield.
Yeah.
So, if he's able to be a little bit more technically sound, he could have thrown him in the backfield. And that's where coaches are saying, like, man, I see this guy that has raw athleticism, raw power, that translates well from the weight room to the field. I can smooth out that technique, man, and I might have a monster of a defensive lineman.
Very nice. So that's our show pretty much. So any concluding thoughts about Mr. Kpassagnon that you would like to share with everybody?
I'm very excited about his progression, man. And, Villanova's coaching staff has done a great job in coaching up guys to their strengths and getting the most out of their talent. Their quarterback, John Robertson, again, won that Walter Payton Award. They're going to have a cornerback next year in Malik Reeves. That's awesome. They have really good safety. But the fact that, Coach told me to keep an eye on Kpassagnon 2 years ago when Paris was an ideal pass rusher that can, he was 6'3", 265, and he could have played in or outside edge rusher. I think he's playing up in Canada now. The fact that Kpassagnon was this raw ball of clay when he came into Villanova, and they molded him enough to where he's probably a second round pick. So you take that player and you hand him to an NFL coach that knows technique. Oh my goodness, you're going to get a guy that's going to be a starting defensive end for a very long time.
Well, this has been a great show, Emory, and I appreciate you being on as you've been on in the past. We can't wait to have you on again. And thank you.
I appreciate it, Matt. Man, keep chopping wood.
We will. We will. So for Emory Hunt, you can follow him on Twitter, as you can see below. I'm Matt Waldman. Thanks again for watching the RSP Film Room. You can check out more of those at my YouTube channel, the RSP Film Room, and my blog at www.mattwaldmanrsp.com. And thanks for checking us out.